In the dead of night, while a British deportation ship sat moored at the port of Tranquebar, two figures quietly slipped off the deck. They evaded the heavily armed guards, bypassed the port authorities, and plunged directly into the dark, tropical forest. Charles Rhenius and his companion were staring down a massive logistical nightmare. They were attempting to navigate hundreds of kilometers of uncharted jungle from Tranquebar to Salem, equipped with zero maps, zero supply lines, and the knowledge that they were actively being hunted. Why did the British Empire deploy armed forces to abduct and deport a simple Prussian missionary? To the British authorities, Rhenius was a rogue political leader. They saw a man with enough grassroots influence to unite the population and incite a rebellion. To understand that threat, we have to look at the power structure of early 19th century South India. The British East India Company maintained control by allying with local upper caste elites to manage the day-to-day operations of the colony. A key part of this control was the thinai system. A thinai is a raised veranda on a traditional house where schooling took place. But education was a strict monopoly. Lower castes and marginalized laborers were legally forbidden from sitting on those verandas to learn how to read or write. The logic was simple. Literacy is power. Denying education guaranteed a compliant, easily exploitable workforce, which in turn kept the colonial economy profitable. Educating the masses was a direct attack on the economic engine of the empire. To understand the man who would eventually challenge this system, we have to look at his early life in Prussia. After his father died, Charles spent his teens supporting his mother as a clerk before answering a calling to travel to India. When he arrived in 1814, he ignored the standard colonial playbook. Instead of managing affairs from a distance, he traveled relentlessly on horseback, embedding himself directly in marginalized rural communities. The defining moment of his early ministry occurred during a temple festival. A 14-year-old boy was bitten by a massive Indian cobra, a death sentence in that era. Rhenius dropped to his knees, sliced open the wound with a pocket knife, and physically sucked the neurotoxin out of the child's leg. The boy survived. In that instant, Rhenius bypassed theological debate and proved his devotion by risking his own life for a local child. This act of physical courage earned him foundational trust. He now had the social capital required to start dismantling the local hierarchy. This table shows the shift in educational access. Rhenius bypassed the thinai monopoly by building 107 primary schools for commoners. He enforced equality aggressively. If an elite student at his seminary refused to eat alongside lower castes, Rhenius immediately dismissed them. He simultaneously established only the second girls' boarding school in the entire Indian subcontinent, aiming to alter the domestic power balance. By equipping marginalized groups with literacy, leadership roles, and a belief in their own equal dignity, Rhenius engineered a new political reality. The local elites fought back with economic boycotts, mass evictions, and starvation tactics, targeting anyone attending Rhenius's integrated schools. To protect his followers, Rhenius pivoted from educator to social engineer. He purchased massive tracts of land to build entirely independent, self-governing cities of refuge. He funded these villages through a microeconomy. Every day, families diverted a single pinch of uncooked rice into a collective pool. This accumulated rice was sold to pay teachers and maintain their own infrastructure. He also mastered the cultural psychology of the region. He established the Mango Festival, a massive annual gathering to replace old segregated traditions with a new egalitarian celebration. By 1835, Rhenius had built an economically autonomous micronation of over 400 villages. This level of organization triggered the British panic that led to his deportation. Rhenius survived his jungle escape and returned to his people, but his final battle was against his own financial backers, the Church Missionary Society. This ideological split became unbridgeable. The institutional leadership demanded he tolerate caste segregation within church walls. Rhenius refused to compromise on his principles of equality, and in 1835, his own organization fired him. Authorities legally barred him from entering the massive cathedral he had personally designed and funded. They chained the gates against him. He simply walked across the Samarabarani River and began building a new church on the opposite bank. But the years of travel, stress, and betrayal took their toll. He died on June 5, 1838, at just 48 years old. He was denied burial inside any of his 400 churches. To compound the heartbreak, his 18-year-old daughter died and was buried near him just one day later. While an empire and an institution successfully crushed the man, they failed to erase the society he had built. In South India today, the independent villages and girls' schools Rhenius established are still actively operating. The socio-economic DNA of the region was permanently changed. A century and a half later, his structures remain the bedrock of the local community. The Rhenius blueprint shows that social reform demands the grueling work of dismantling broken systems and designing self-sustaining new ones from the ground up.